the last week of the month of January. And of course, most of the Egyptians are awaiting that opportunity to be able and take a look over their choices of books and CDs and a full exhibition of the world culture. It's the second one after the Frankfurt Book Fair, and one of the most important in the Arab world. And it's usually held in Medinat Nasr near Al-Azhar University. On this very occasion, we're very delighted to have with us Dr. Nabil Ghed, who is a professor of English literature. Hello, Dr. Ghed. How are you doing?
Just fine, and you?
Fine, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us. And definitely, you know, every year it comes with a theme, the book fair. What is distinguishing, you know, the presence of the Cairo Book Fair this year?
Well, it's my pleasure to be here, and I'd like to mention that this annual international book fair held in Cairo, Egypt, is a very good occasion for those interested in reading, whether the traditional way of reading in books, written books, or through the online, the internet. And it's usually coincides with the mid-year holidays or vacations for the universities and different stages of education in Egypt. It's a very nice chance for gathering and enjoying lovely weather, sunny day like this we are in right now. And people do benefit from the discounts giving. They have a very good look at the cultures of the different people and the languages the books are displayed. They pick up whatever they say, and they have something for fun, and it's actually a very nice thing to encourage for parents or teachers to encourage kids to be having the hobby of reading. I do remember in Europe, when I was there in different countries, whenever I am in a public means of transportation, nobody is sitting idle. Everybody gets a pocket book out of his jacket, for instance, and start reading. And something very nice is that the underground or the tube line usually announces the stop names and the next stop in order to notify the passengers where to get off. So this is something nice. I'm happy that nowadays some of the new trains in the Cairo Metro have the same facilities. And I wish that I would like to see people not only reading papers but books like that. It's good to encourage our students and our readers of all ages to be using their time as much as they can.
Right, Dr. Ghed, due to the current circumstances in Egypt, the political and economic circumstances, Egypt have been through a lot of changes, rapid changes in very little time, only in a span of 4 or 5 years, or less than 5 years. Mm-hmm. Many changes. Among them, or on top of them, is the cultural change. So how do you see the cultural changes that Egypt has been through having some effect on the cultural environment, and will it be witnessed significantly in this book fair?
Of course, the effect or influence has its bearing on the thinking of the Egyptians. Not only Egyptians, but it's all over the world. Because we are part and parcel of the whole world. Cannot be separated or isolated, because it is our nature to be interacting not only with the events happening in Egypt, politically, socially, educationally, whatever the stage is or the phase is. That's international thing that should affect us. We have to react and express ourselves and say what do we think, and to be active members of the society. Nobody can stay static. Life is well known to be a dynamic approach, and this the dynamic approach should be translated into actions. And we have to have our say in all the matters that happen within the limits allowed for us, with the full democratic concept that we should always bear in mind.
Yes, Dr. Nabil, there is now the technology has changed a lot recently. If you looked at the way we used to read books in the old days and how you are able to access books, it has developed, and retail shops would provide that. But now it's e-books, and you'll find a lot of audio books that you can use, whether on your phone, on your tablet, your device. So the technology has actually changed, this outlook of how you're actually consuming these information. How are you seeing this, and how are you seeing this development and how we use it?
Right. I think that we have to adapt and adopt. The growth and the development of technology should not keep us away from it. If somebody is not able to be reading for light factor, for instance, yes, or for old age, he can be enjoying the audio or video recording of such books. That makes us live along with, or be in the same line with the development of technology. This development is not only affecting us, it affects the whole world, as I have recently mentioned. We have to have the concept of being convinced that it's the food of the brain or the mind. The book usually, or what's the e-book, as you just mentioned, the electronic books, are quite essential for us. Nobody can live without the ideas he reads. For instance, I read recently something very nice, and it's a fact that when we are young, we work and we don't feel anything. When we get older, we work and we feel tired. When we get older and older, we feel tired even without work. So this is actually the nature of life, and we have to adapt to it. We have to be on the same line of what technology is. Technology is developing. Now is from yesterday, tomorrow will be different. Things are faster, but I always say that the book is the best friend, which never gets tired, which never gets bored, and is never get in to be cross with us. They are rendering, I mean the books, whether the e-books or the normal traditional books, they render us services, I could hardly say free of charge.
Right, Dr. Gerd, there is always that debate. There are people who are pro reading a book. Other people, there are usually there are two campaigns or two camps in society. People who like to read the book and not take it as a movie, and people who would like to see it in a movie, to see it as in cinematography. And it has always been like that for years. Tell us what's the difference, and how transforming type of work written, whatever could it be, what type of literature, a novel into a movie can, and it could go some changes. I mean, what happens when it's transformed into a movie?
Well, a movie, of course, is usually something more interesting. It's not more exciting, because the ideas or the events are the same, whether written or acted on TV or movies in general. It's the idea that a reader should have the sense of benefiting from what he reads. The movie viewers or the TV viewers may be a little bit indifferent about reading, and they depend on what they watch on TV or while going to the movies or something like that. I do remember as well that when I was a student, our professors used to ask us to read the original copies, the original editions, not the simplified ones. And of course, if this is turned into a movie or a film, it could facilitate matters, and because the visual, an audio picture of something acted on TV has its own effect, and it's back in our memories to be easily remembered and easily recognized, to be reproduced in the exam paper later on. So each side has its positive and negative aspects. We have always to concentrate on the positive actives and ignore or avoid the negative points that we already face. So there are two trends, as you just mentioned, those who are interested in reading and those who are interested in only watching. Both of them are better. Maybe when I read something written in front of me, I even benefit from the spelling of certain words. And we always know that there is some slight differences in spelling between British English, American English, and this is to be taken into consideration.
Yes, Doctor, I'd like to ask you about, the recent trends in, writing and books. There is always new fashions also when it comes to writing. What is interesting you the most, and what is the trends recently?
The recent trends actually, I think, tends to have some abbreviations. I usually notice this whenever I receive a message on my cell phone. They write very short items. If I say thank you, they say that thank, T-H-A-N-K, and or thanks, T-H-N-X, and you, letter U, for the meeting we have, and they write figure 4, and something like that. This was very strange for the eye in the past, but nowadays it has come quite normal. So the development, as mentioned earlier, is the trend that's going on. We have to live along with this and adapt to what we have, because it's life. Life is always developing, and our thinking, our attitudes should be always developing and growing forward to the recent technology.
Right. The translation. Most of the pieces, the beautiful or the pinnacles of work, are translated by very famous or popular, worldwide popular writers, like the Russian literature, like the Spanish ones, like British, like even other different Chinese, for example. So how do you see that type of business, the translation business in the world of books? Do you see that it's declining? Do you see that it's taking a new turn after the revolution? I mean, how do you see it? How do you assess it?
Translation could be a means to help, but it's not the major factor to translate or to transfer the culture of others. I was really wondering a while ago that Google, some people give some text to Google for translating it. So I found a very funny translation for the word awalan, firstly, and it was translated in a way that it said or not. Google got it for aw as a one syllable, it means or, and then la for not. So it's funny. So we cannot rely on Google translation, but the human translator or interpreter is, of course, far much better. Difficult area in translation is the spontaneous translation. Those who are doing the translation on the spot. This needs a very great skill, and I actually admire such spontaneous translators, because they do a lot of effort in their work for transferring the ideas of both the speaker and the listener.
Yes, the book fair is part of the process also of enhancing the culture of reading. Do you think there are other stuff that are actually supporting with this, culture development of reading? And what is keeping us from reading a lot?
I'm not clear about the two types of differences that you mentioned. You mean the difference between? Can you just?
Is there any other channels that supports the culture of reading other than the Cairo Book Fair? And what are the blockers? What is keeping us from reading a lot?
Yeah, the other things that help are the personal interest. If I'm interested in the field of study or of work I need, I will automatically go to the book fair or any bookshop that's available nearby to where I reside or live, and I will pick up the book, or I may search the internet and see the latest books dealing with such a major field that I am interested in.
Yes.
The book fair could be a factor to aid
One of the
and
factors.
help, but it's not everything.
Yes.
It depends on the person's interest himself, the personal interest.
Yes, Professor Nabil Gad would like to thank you very much for joining us. It has been a pleasure to have you with us at Night Cruise.
The
Thank you
pleasure
for
is
coming.
mine.
Thank
Most
you very
welcome.
much. And we're going to go to a short break and we'll come back to you, so stay with us.